Leilani Joy here, and welcome to another episode of The Paint Along, the show where you can paint along with me in real time while I answer your art and not so art related questions. So go grab something to work on today, needlepoint, cobbling a shoe, cutting up sweatshirts inspired by Flashdance, whatever it is you want to work on today. All right, so let's get started. I'll pull you guys up on my camera and we'll take a look at what I am working on. So here I've got a little preview of a piece I'm working on for the Bad Apple Artist Collective auction. And this month the theme is Beauty and the Beast. And so I wanted to do kind of a tribute to Belle that's not too Disney. I'm trying to kind of stay away from Disney, but I do kind of have a little bit of suggestion of a similar dress. But other than that, I want to kind of have a slightly Spanish inspiration. She's got kind of a Amy Winehouse hairdo, and I want to also have this stained glass kind of theme. And this is kind of just a rough value study. I actually had just kind of a little sketch, and I dropped in some values and some line work. So I actually do want to refine this sketch more before I transfer it, because I want to incorporate maybe some rose vines, and I don't know, I have some other ideas that I haven't quite worked out yet. But in the meantime, I thought I might as well get some background color painted on my panel, so then I can transfer on top of the background and then move along quickly. So I've got my little T-square here, and I'm kind of just draw some lines where I want that little border to go, and then I'm going to paint in the center color and the border trim, and then I'll go back to the drawing later. So while I'm doing this, let's see here, I want to make sure this is I'm actually going to measure, because I want this to be pretty accurate. It looks like it's about an inch, but I'm going to go slightly over that. Something to keep in mind, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this actually before, but it's become, somewhat instinctual for me, is when you're doing a painting, actually, and any illustration really, be very mindful of a bleed or an edge where your frame is going to cover. I have made the mistake before, especially early on in creating artwork, that I let things get a little bit too close to the edge. And then when you put your frame on, depending on how thick of a frame you like, some frames can cover up to, usually a quarter or even a half an inch of your painting. So you definitely want to make sure you give your piece enough breathing room on the edges so that when your frame covers it, you're not going to be actually losing details or having a tangent edge of something. And this goes for prints too, because your collectors are going to want to frame their prints, and you want them to also be able to not cover up vital parts of your artwork. So do remember that. Okay, and before I jump into questions, someone kindly offered some advice. We had a question last time about how to prepare wood panels for painting on, and I told you guys I wasn't actually that sure about that, because I usually use gesso board like this. It's already pre-gessoed and ready to go, but our friend Ryan J says that he paints on wood and that he likes to use birch wood from the hardware store, which is not porous. I'm not sure if you're right about that though. Actually, I believe birch is very porous. Porous means that if it gets wet, it will expand. So I do believe that the wood they use from the hardware store is porous, unless it's treated somehow. But he uses clear drying gesso, which I totally forgot that they have clear gesso. So that might be a really good tool for you if you want to maintain the wood grain, right? So yeah, give that a try. I would definitely recommend, if it's really rough wood, to give it a nice smooth sanding first, and make sure it's nice and clean and dust free, and then go ahead and put the clear gesso over that. I'm not sure, I've never tried clear gesso before. You'll have to maybe see how many coats it takes to give you full protection, but it might say on there. And you know what, actually, I have found recently, I had some questions about varnishes, and I found that the companies that make the products are really, really helpful, and you can usually contact them. I wrote to both Liquitex, I think it was, and also Gambol, and they wrote back to me, and they were more than happy to answer my questions. So if you really have specific product questions, I would highly recommend contacting the companies directly, because, you know, of course, I don't know. I hardly even know about the products that I have and use. So if you really want to know something more about how something works, or if you want to do something and you're not sure which product to use, would definitely recommend contacting supply companies directly. Sometimes art stores are great. It kind of depends on, I know it kind of depends on how good your art store is. I've been to a few that it's like, I don't know, practically middle school kids working there. They don't know what's going on. So I have my little border traced out on my board here, and I have created for myself a little color composite. Oh, it looks pretty good, small like that. It's kind of interesting how you can see like a preview of what your painting is going to look like just simply by having values and colors and basically no details at all. This is how I like to work, because I feel like a piece that works, and no, I keep saying this over and over again. If you're in my class, you're like, hey, shut up about this. But I really feel like a piece that works small and far away is successful, large and in charge, chunky yet funky. No. Large and detailed. So I always try to focus on good shapes and silhouettes and values in a small color comp or value study stage, and then worry about like little details and eyelashes later. So I want to mix up a very, very light, it's almost, you can't even tell this, very, very light gray for sort of the window here. And this already dried, so now we're going to do my favorite thing in the world, which is actually peel paint out of this container. Oh my god, this is weird, but it's just like, I have a very sick satisfaction by peeling dried paint. Like, oh my god, oh, it was so satisfying. It was so satisfying. Okay. It's sick, I know. It's like a sunburn. No. Okay, moving on. I'm gonna mix my paint here. This is also not a question, but I got this great comment from Pandaborg01, and they said, I'm watching your paint along while I file my taxes. It helps keep my sanity. And that just made me laugh, and also reminded me that I have to do my taxes. Oh, God. You guys. Okay. Major con of being a self-employed artist is doing your own taxes is really not that fun. Actually, it's not that bad, but it's like I have to do everything. And when you have like a regular 9-to-5 job, they kind of keep track of things for you, and they just send you like a form, and then you just plug it in. But mine is quite a bit more complicated than that. And I found out recently, because I've had people ask me about taxes before, and I was like, oh, you know, I'd love to give you some advice on what I do. And I do something that's called a Schedule C for my taxes, and I usually have some 1099s as well, which is like contract work or freelance stuff. But I read recently that, I don't know if it's illegal, but you're actually not supposed to give tax advice unless you are like certified to do so. So I had no idea about this, but I saw it somewhere, they're like, I can't give tax advice because I guess if you give someone the wrong advice, like it could just lead to bad things. I don't know. So I might have to look more into that, especially for my business class, like how much I'm allowed to share and like how much advice I'm allowed to give because of that regulation. So I don't know. I'm going to look more into that. If any of you guys are accountants or knowledgeable in this field, maybe you can give me your 2 cents on it. So let's see. Now I have a question from Chibi Monster. Hey, Chibi Monster. It's good to have you back again. They say, hey, Joy. Okay, I have a question. How come a lot of people call me Joy? I just find that interesting. Like, I don't know. I don't really ever go by that name. I don't go by Joy on its own. So I do see a lot of people use that, which, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Maybe it's easier to spell than Leilani. Okay, a slight, here I go again. but slight pet peeve of mine, which I find is really weird. And any of you guys with complicated names like are totally gonna understand my pain on this. But I find it hysterical when like people write to me on comments or even on my Facebook page sometimes, and they say, "Hey, Leilani," and they misspell my name. And my name is literally on the page. It's like all over the page. And they like terribly misspell it. And I'm like, okay, there's no excuse for that. That's like having the test answers in front of you. You still get them wrong. Anyways, Chibi Monster asks, let's talk about something a little bit more on the craftier side. What do you think makes an awesome DIY geeky gift? Ever done one for your husband? Oh yeah, you know what? I love DIY gifts, especially when you're starting out as an artist and you're super poor. Actually, I will show you what I made for him. So here is a little DIY gift I made for Brian, and I think this might have been from our first anniversary, like 1 year anniversary, or it might have been Valentine's Day, I can't remember. But I made him this little sketchbook journal, and I had kept a bunch of things from our first year together. Like I had a ticket from when he took me to the Nutcracker, some early pictures of us together. This is from our first date, and there's the Match.com logo because that's how we met. It was like the Breaking Bad bear because we loved that show together, and just some other little things. He liked rock climbing, and I made this Photoshop collage with these little things that I scanned, and I made it into this journal. And the only thing I'm really mad about, so this is so like me, is I actually did the little, like, I'm going to cover my secret note here, but I did my little sketch and inscription upside down, so it's on the wrong side. But this was something crafty I made for him, and he really liked it. And I had like no money back then, so I was I thought a little clever gift to give him. But no, I love stuff like that. I love photo books. I also like make photo books on like Shutterfly and stuff all the time, because I just think it's kind of a fun little way to like remember like a trip that you took or something like that. So I don't really have like a lot of time to do crafty stuff because that's kind of what I do, of course, to make money. So these days I spend a lot of my non-arting time doing either chores and laundry or playing video games and seeing friends and doing other things other than crafty stuff. But I bet, there's a lot of really great ideas out there. I mean, Pinterest, oh God, if I had time to do all the amazing Pinterest projects I've collected that I'll never get to, and I'm sure they'll never come out as good as that anyway, so but yeah. So I did cut out for a quick minute because I had to have a minor freak out, and I wanted to do it off camera because there's just some things you guys should not see. And that is because I'm sure you can't even tell this, but I'm not really sure where the error occurred. But when I was painting my background here, either my brush or my water or something was contaminated with like dust and like eraser shavings. And so my paint layer is literally like full of these little like fibers, and it's driving me crazy. I tried to like sand them out, but it was just embedded in the paint I mixed. So I'm not sure if my palette knife was just dusty or what happened. But anyways, I'm just kind of a perfectionist about things like that, and I hate things like that. So I decided to just prepare a new board, and I've actually gotten a little bit farther than before on it. I actually did my outer layer of blue first, and then I let that dry. So I was gone for a minute. So then I taped it off, and so I can achieve my stained glass window frame here. And I wanted to just peel the paint off with you guys on camera because this is like a super satisfying moment in my process when I do like masks or use masking tape, because I just love revealing that like nice clean edge. So hopefully that is what's going to happen. Oh yes, there it is. I don't know. It's kind of like getting that perfect winged eyeliner swoop on the first try. It's just like, it's really great. I know. Sometimes I really ask myself, girl, why do you work with traditional medium if you're like obsessed with like getting things so nice and clean and precise. Like, why don't you just work digitally or something? And I'm like, I don't know. I like the challenge of doing it in paint. Oh, I got a little smudge over here. That's okay. So I don't really know, but I do find getting nice, clean masks a very satisfying part of my process. Okay, my next question comes from Electrobot. And they ask me, I don't understand why you don't just draw directly on your board or canvas or whatever you use. So once again, for the 5 millionth time, this is hardboard. I paint all my paintings on hardboard unless they're watercolors, so it's not canvas. You say you always feel like you lose something in your transfer, so why do you even bother with it? I sort of quit doing this transferring myself because of this very reason. Well, Electrobot, I'm so glad you could join me today because I'd be happy to enlighten you as to why I do this, actually. And it's actually for a pretty simple reason. I'm not sure what you're using if you're using Canvas, but in my personal experience, I have found that when I draw directly on hardboard, I like a very smooth surface. So I find that it's kind of slippery, number one, and that pencil line does not stick to it very well. And if I do a lot of pencil drawing, it doesn't erase very well. So I get a kind of dirty, smudgy looking board. And as I kind of explained, I like to keep things kind of clean. And I just feel like when I have a drawing, for the lack of a better word, I can get kind of rough and dirty with it. I can smear it, I can put whiteout on it, I can scan it, I can make a copy, I can put it into Photoshop if some of the proportions are right, and I can actually shift things around and print it back out. So I can really, really polish my drawing until it's exactly where I want it before it is on my board. So that is why I do that. And it's much harder if you already have the drawing pretty well embedded on your board to make any kind of changes to it. The other reason I do it is because occasionally, like this case in particular, I've done quite a bit of work preparing the background layer. So I have several layers of acrylic paint on here. And if I were to start drawing on this and erasing and changing it, you can actually tear your acrylic paint. Acrylic is like a layer of plastic, right? So if you create a tear in it, then you kind of have an issue. And then once again, I can get dirty, smudgy looking areas that I don't like to show on my final piece. I will say that there are some artists that they make their process drawing part of their final piece, and even sometimes have some of the process drawing showing through in the final piece. And I think it can be really effective and be a really great and beautiful technique. And I mean, if that is the process that you like, more power to you. And frankly, hey, it would be great if I could maybe cut out that the middleman, so to speak. But that's why I don't, because I just like to have a little bit more a room for error, quite frankly. A lot of people even, they do their drawing stage in paint. I mean, that's kind of how the technique that they teach you when you're in art school, right, is you will take your paintbrush and paint very lightly in paint to get all of your drawing done, and then you build up and build up and build up and kind of carve away at it, more like a sculptural kind of technique. But anyways, I hope that clears it up for you. And like I said, every artist is different, and I'm sorry if it was me that led you astray with the whole transferring thing, but I am glad that you found something that works better for you. So awesome. So sorry if my sound got weird there for a second. I don't know, my mic glitched out and then I lost all the audio, so I just had to use the audio from the camera. So hopefully it sounds okay now. Okay, so I'm feeling kind of indecisive about my drawing here, and I want to design these kind of thorny vines and incorporate them into the stained glass window, but I haven't, it's almost there. It's almost there. I'm not quite sure. I don't want it to get too busy and distracting, but I also want it to be a really nice design. So I haven't quite committed to it, but I just want to move forward. So I might go back and play with that towards the end. So I am going to go ahead and start to transfer this, the rest of the drawing on here, so we can kind of keep keep moving along. Sometimes, you know, when you have a deadline, you just kind of have to move forward, and you go, okay, well, I'm gonna have to revisit that later. So in this particular case, usually, like I said, I like to have the drawing pretty much ready to go. But since I'm here with you guys and I don't want to just make a line and erase 5,000 times, this is not very interesting. I'm going to just press forward, and I can kind of design and finalize the vine shapes closer to the end of the painting. That won't really be too big of a deal. So I'm going to cut this out, as you can see, and I'm going to answer a question from Gina R. And hello, Gina R. Gina R is back, and she says, first of all, I love how when you answer my question, it feels like you're talking directly to me. Aw, I'm so glad. That's kind of what I strive for. I'm always watching reruns of Law and Order SVU as well. I know, you just can't get enough of that show, right? Sometimes I'm like, I have it on, and I'm like going in between, like sobbing uncontrollably, and I'm like, okay, you know what? You should really cut yourself off now. I think you've seen enough horrible violence for one day. I don't know, but it's so addicting though, and like their characters are so good. Anyway, so Gina says, have you I'd like to know if you've ever had really bizarre dreams or nightmares. Oh my god. Like exclusively. Yes. I don't know. I'm convinced that like I have a very strange brain. I don't know if other people go through this, but like, first of all, almost every dream I have is a nightmare. I very rarely have pleasant dreams. I don't know. This is probably going to be like weird, like, like a look into my psyche or something. But I tend to have like pretty frightening and lucid, vivid dreams. I had this one particular nightmare, like not that long ago, where I dreamed that I was like sinking in this mud, and there was all these people like made of trees, like kind of like little Groot here, but like ugly and scary, and they were like grabbing me and pulling me down, and I was like drowning in mud, and oh my god, it was terrible. I mean, it sounds like I don't know, kind of funny or something, but like in my dreams I feel like it's very, very real. I don't know. Some people think, well, it's because most of the time you're really happy and, you know, your life is going well for you. So you're like, I don't know, your dreams manifest like what you don't want to happen. I'm one of those people that constantly dreams about dirty bathrooms, usually public ones. They either A, have no stall doors, B, the toilets are like clogged and like overflowing. Like, you know, if you've ever seen that show, like Hoarders, like all the toilets look like that. And I read once that those are like, they mean that you're like afraid of embarrassing yourself. I don't know. At one time I dreamed that the toilets were really, really high. Like, so you had to like climb on top of it. I don't know. Maybe I have to pee in the night. I really don't know what the reason for that is. But yeah, a lot of dreams about that. I don't know. I dream a lot. I have dreams almost every night. And this is going to be a kind of a weird comment, but because of the way that I dream and like how imaginative my subconscious is, this is why I like don't do drugs. I know that sounds strange, but I'm afraid of using a substance that will like unleash that. Cause you know, I have a lot of friends who are artists and things, and they're like, oh man, you know, you should try like DMT or something. And I'm like, no, I don't really need to unlock Pandora's box, if you know what I mean. Cause I feel like I mean, like no real opinion on if you're into doing whatever. But I just feel like everyone would be like, oh, it's a great experience. And I'd be that one person that would have like a terrifyingly bad trip that I could not get out of. So yeah, anyways, that turned into another question. Okay, my next question comes from Monica S. Art, and she asks, you always say that the big part of why you paint is so you can sell your works. Well, I don't mean it like how that sounds. I make a living creating my art, so I don't paint for the money though, if that makes sense. I don't think that, I certainly don't make enough money to just do it for the money. I do it because I love it, and I sell it because I need to live. So, yeah, just to clarify that. Um, I was just wondering though, what would you do if you had unlimited amount of money for the rest of your life? I think it's an interesting question because I recently watched the video of Shane Dawson, and he was saying that a big part of why YouTubers are so depressed is that they already have so much money and success that they don't know what to do with their lives anymore. Okay, well, first of all, let me just clarify that I'm not one of those. I'm not rich and I'm not depressed, so I'm that's interesting. I don't know who Shane Dawson is, but that that's very unfortunate, I guess. Anyways, so she continues. So I was just wondering if you think that money is our motivation for doing stuff and painting. No, absolutely not for me, I can say. And do you think that you would be depressed and would you still do art and YouTube videos if you had all the money and success? By the way, I bought your super awesome postcards from you and they are to die for. The quality is on point. Well, thank you, my dear. Like I kind of just said, if I wanted to do something for the money, I would definitely have picked something else, first of all. I can't speak on behalf of other YouTubers. I think that's very sad if you have so much money that you don't know what to do with yourself. If I had plenty of money, I would still make art. Absolutely. And I'd probably make it a lot more of it and a lot faster in a way because I could, I could hire people to do things I don't want to do, like clean my house, do my cooking, do my shopping, do everything. So I'd have a lot more time and I wouldn't feel that pressure. One of the main cons of being a quote professional artist is, in other words, you make your living doing it, it's always in the back of my mind. Is this a piece that my collectors are going to want? Is this a piece that's going to reproduce well as prints? Because since I'm running a business in tandem of being an artist, I have to consider those things. So if I had plenty of money and that wasn't a concern, I would probably get crazy. I would experiment. I would go really outside my box. I would do big paintings, but I can just about guarantee you I would not stop working. I would take long trips. I would travel. I would get more exposed to other parts of the world, other cultures. I would take a lot of time on the beach. I'm not going to lie. I would play hard too, but I don't think I would ever stop creating. It's very deeply ingrained in me. And I think, even when, I'm feeling kind of unmotivated, I'm like, I don't want to do any art. I just want to play games and sit on the couch. That only lasts for a few days for me. And then I'm like, I have to do something. My brain, since I was a little kid, I was like, oh my God, I have so many ideas. I wanted to make movies. I wanted to make comics. I wanted to write stories. I would, if I had plenty of money, I would do things like that. I don't know. Honestly, it gets me excited thinking about it because I feel like there's things that limit my ability to create just because of money and time. But if I had unlimited money, I could probably get more of my ideas out there and realized. So, yeah, I don't know. We all have to adapt, I guess. I don't know why any YouTubers would be complaining that they make so much money on YouTube that they don't want to do anything anymore. Then help people, contribute. Do something with yourself. I don't know. I don't relate to that. I honestly don't. That could just be that my parents were very hardworking people, and with any spare moment they had, they were doing something with their time. And, my mom was always that person. She's like, don't say you're bored because I'll give you something to do, So I don't have that kind of feeling. And yeah, so again, I don't do what I do. I feel this way, without going on about this too long. I feel incredibly, incredibly lucky and grateful that YouTube and the internet has made it possible for me to do this as a living. I am not a rich person, but I live in a very expensive area. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I make enough to survive here. So for me, that's good. That's successful. And I'm proud of that. And I get to do what I truly love every day. So to me, that is success. But yeah, I never was like, oh, I'm going to be a YouTube artist because that's the key to easy success. Oh no, absolutely not. And if any of you guys have attempted it, you'll know that it is very, very far from it, actually. So yeah, really great question, Monica. It's a very interesting one. Okay, well, I think I finished up my transfer here, so let's take a little look. Time for the big reveal. Ta-da! Okay, that looks like that came out pretty good, did it? So next I've got a question from Sorry, I printed this so small I can barely read it. It seems like tiny that text is. Capamare. My question is, what do you think of the statement, digital artists are not real artists? I found myself in my art zone in both watercolor and digital art, and I study design. But I have seen some comments and posts talking about how digital artists are not real ones because they have the help of a computer. I feel like I might have answered this before, but just to quickly answer it, I find that statement like so freaking ridiculous that I don't even know. I just almost can't even respond to it. Like, do people not know that the computer does not do anything for you? Like, I guess they've never attempted it. I guess they think that you go, hello, computer, I would like a drawing of a car. Thank you. It's like, no. It is a medium like anything else. And it's actually very similar to traditional art making. It's just, I never get that. Like someone I know who was in my family, who I will not name, but they're like, isn't it much faster? Why don't you just do digital art? It's much faster. And I'm like, it's really not. I mean, in some ways, like making changes is faster, which can be convenient, and there's not as much like commitment. But honestly, you still have to use your brain to do all the designing, do all the paint strokes. That is all you. My husband Brian is a professional digital painter, and while he's faster than me, just because I mean his skill set's a little bit different, he absolutely does all the work himself. The computer does not do any of the work. So I just laugh at that. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I have many friends who are professional artists, concept artists, digital painters, and some of them you could not even tell it's digital. It looks just like an oil painting, and they use the exact same technique as painting with oil, but instead they're using digital paint and a stylus and a Cintiq or Wacom tablet. So I just try to ignore them because, frankly, they're ignorant, okay? If they actually think that the computer has a brain and is like, oh, okay, here's some art for you. It's not like it's a filter. I think people get very confused about, like, they see Instagram filters and they see these stupid little apps that, like, put, like arty filters on things, and then they think that is what a digital artist does. I actually have, so you guys will laugh at this. So my digital painting that Brian and I did for our wedding invites, I posted it on my Facebook page, and this very nice acquaintance I have, she's, she doesn't know, but she was like, oh, what filter did you use to make that? Like, what photo app did you use to make that? I'm like, we didn't use an app, we painted it with our own brains and art skills using Photoshop. So it was like, the computer didn't make the art, we made it using digital tools. So yeah, so sorry if I didn't mean to be like condescending on that question, but I do find it like this day and age, like I don't know how people don't know the difference between an app and someone who is a digital painter. It's just kind of weird. So sorry you're putting up with that, but just ignore them and laugh at it, because digital art is absolutely legitimate, and it's just as challenging as traditional art in a lot of ways. So this isn't a question, but it's a comment from Doodle on Aiden, and I like it, so I just wanted to share it. And they said, people aren't born with talent, they're born with interest to improve. And that is so very true. And on my last paint along, I was talking about kind of my thoughts on um, talent versus skills, and how a lot of people just tell artists they're talented and they don't really give them credit for all the hard work they put in to improve their craft. And I was really excited to see the positive response from you guys, and that you also relate to that, because yeah, I don't know, I just think that one's interesting. Talent is something that's not really earned, and skills are something that's earned. So I think a lot of us as artists can relate to that, being like, you know what, I put a lot of time and practice in this, and it didn't come easily or without effort. Um, Now I have a question from my dear friend Trini Chops, and today she says, you posted before about how you were a Hot Topic girl. Would you say you are still within the goth punk scene thing? Nah, I don't know. I'm too old to like be, oh, I'm this or that. I don't know. The great thing about being in your 30s, you guys, is you really stop giving a crap about what group you're in or what people think. It's awesome. I'm like, today I want to be goth. Today I want to be a pastel princess in a 80s sweatshirt. I don't give a crap. So I don't really worry about like people being like, oh, she's a goth, she's a this, she's a that. I'm a me, and I do me, and I do her well. So I don't know. I like the option to switch it up. I mean, that's why clothes, makeup, all that stuff, it's so great. You can change it. I guess I would say that I'm maybe a little more alternative than some people. I definitely like to push the envelope a little bit with my fashion, and I don't know. I just think fashion's so fun. That's why I love it. So I don't know, but I don't really like say I'm in any particular category. I do still appreciate a lot of goth scene music. I love kind of industrial 80s goth rock, Susie and the Banshees, that kind of thing. I still enjoy that a lot. I used to go to clubs when that was popular. Well, a little bit. I'm not quite that old, but yeah. So I don't know, but I do appreciate a bit of everything on occasion. I also love just like classic vintage fashion. Sometimes I'm like, today I want to feel like Audrey Hepburn. And I don't know if Audrey Hepburn would be a goth or a punk today, but hey, who knows? Okay, so now I'm ready to start blocking her hair in, and then hopefully we'll start getting some cool contrast here, and she'll start popping out a little bit. Okay, so I'm using my fluid black. I love this stuff. The golden high flow acrylics for the hair, because that's how I like to get that super ink blotty kind of look. It's very, very fluid, and I can just kind of blot it on there like ink. It's very much like a slightly thicker black ink, and I love it, and it's basically my signature when I do my ink blot girls, which did I tell you guys I'm like trademarking that, ink blot girls? Those are my signature ladies. I know other people have probably done ink blot hair girls, but I don't know. It's all about being the first one to trademark it, right? Okay, so next I've got a question from Ashanti B. Hey Leilani, I love your spirit, skills, and work. Thank you so much. I have two questions for you. I find myself resorting to the same poses, or what I like to call default poses, for most of my full body characters. I'm wondering if you have any tips to switch poses for figures and characters. Just get more reference. I know what you mean. I have that too. I'm always like, sometimes I think of art in my head. I'm like, I already did that pose. And you know what? Okay, there's only so many poses. So don't beat yourself up too much if a couple of them look the same. I did have someone go like, that looks just like another piece you did. And I'm like, oh, it does. Sorry about it. But I actually keep a Pinterest board just for poses I like, especially like fashion-y kind of ones, because I always find myself like, oh, I love that pose. I don't do a whole lot of full body because I kind of prefer to do portraits, but I just think keep a file of poses that you like when you see one, and challenge yourself. If you feel like, oh, I've done that one a lot, then just it helps to practice doing more challenging poses so you get better. So just keep doing it. That. Now I've got a question from Caitlin B, who says, hey, you mentioned a few times in this video that you work a lot of hours a day and 6 to 7 days a week. What's your schedule like, and what do you do each day, and how do you stay organized and motivated? Love you. Thank you, Caitlin. Oh, I feel like, this is one that, like, I would like to improve upon. This is true. I usually do work a lot more hours than your typical 9 to 5, just because, what I do can be a little erratic sometimes, and it depends on a lot of things. So, unfortunately, I do find that a lot of times my schedule is kind of based on what fire do I need to put out today. So recently I had a sale in my Etsy store, and first of all, I just want to send you guys some love. Thank you so much. I got a great response on my 10 by 10 by 10 sale. Such a great response, in fact, that I literally got hundreds of orders, and I don't typically get that many all at once. So it took me a lot of full days of work to get all of those orders prepped and shipped. So that particular week I was like, oh crap, I have painting to do, but these orders have to come first. I usually do try to make sure that my orders go out for my paying customers before I get to anything else. So a lot of times what I'm doing is based on what's due first, what's the most urgent thing. And sometimes just like what I'm feeling like. Sometimes if I'm not feeling very motivated artistically, I'm like, well, today is a really good day for me to catch up on my grading for my class, or edit some videos, or update my store, or pack orders. I do try to, usually I focus on orders, emails, and customer service stuff early in the week, like Monday, because sometimes over the weekend I have things I have to attend to and emails to answer and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't have a really refined schedule, and I'd like to get one. I really think it would help me be more productive. So, thanks for bringing this up, because I think that I am going to try to be better about that. And once I get kind of better about it, then I can help you guys more. It's hard, it's kind of a delicate thing. And a lot of times, unfortunately, like you say, we're all driven by money. So things that I can be paid for quicker sometimes take precedence over something that's just free time fun art, or a new piece that I just want to do for fun. So the one thing that I do like to do, though, is I usually do plan the next day the day before as much as I possibly can. I have these little steno notebooks I love, and at night when I'm getting ready for bed, I will do a to-do list for my next day. I do find that really helps me, because otherwise I tend to lay in bed at night and be like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, and I can't even sleep. So I found that it does keep me more on track if I'm like, okay, tomorrow this is a priority, and hopefully, I can get to as many things on the list as I can. I often find that I do set too high of goals for myself, and then sometimes I get mad at myself. I'm like, I was not productive today, but I make my to-do list a little bit too ambitious sometimes too. So do try to be mindful of what you can accomplish in a day, and be proud of your little achievements, and pat yourself on the back when you do achieve your to-do list. So anyway, I have some questions from my Facebook fan page. So they've been patiently waiting to have their questions answered. I asked you guys to ask me some questions on Instagram and Facebook recently, and I got a crazy good response. So it might take me actually a couple of paint-alongs to get caught up with all of you guys. So please be patient with me. If I don't answer your question, if I skip it entirely, I'm trying not to skip anyone entirely, but if I do, then it's probably because I already answered it almost exactly. If it's a little bit different, then I'll try to address it. But if it's almost verbatim, something I've already answered, then check out my other paint-alongs. And first up, I have a question from Jessica C. This is from my Facebook fan page, and she asks, firstly, I love your work. Thank you, Jessica. It always inspires me to do my own work. I'm definitely struggling a lot lately to find my place in the art world. Aren't we all, girl? Art school didn't really do it for me, and it was too expensive, so after about a year I had to back out. Now I'm trying to find now I'm trying to do a bit of freelance work and find that it's gotten harder to garner the public eye. Commission work is slow, and using platforms like Redbubble and Society6 don't produce much revenue. It seems like YouTube and various social media are changing their policies and making it even harder for small artists to grow. Any advice? Well, first of all, I feel your pain. I definitely know it is really hard at first. It takes a long time to figure out what you want to do with your art, what your strengths are, who to target, what your market is. And like I say, I got very lucky in a lot of ways because I was literally completely lost, and I was just kind of like experimenting, quite frankly, when I started my YouTube channel and started kind of putting myself out there. I was just trying to see if people were into it. But as far as the social media policies, I don't know what you mean specifically. You might have to give me more of an example of that. I don't know as far as YouTube anyway that they're changing anything or making it harder. But I think number one, just really, you might be still in the area where I was after art school, which was like, I was really, really general. My portfolio was very, very mixed. I did not really know what I wanted to go after. I wasn't sure if I should be doing greeting cards or fashion illustrations or comics, or I just was completely lost in that regard. And my school really did not prepare me for that, which was unfortunate. I really wish they would have made more of an effort to help us get a portfolio that we could really start getting some work. I got lucky with a few little jobs, like right after school, just through someone's wanted a portrait of them and their dog or something. But they paid like nothing, and I did way more work than it was worth. But yeah, I also understand. So I would tell anyone, Society6, Redbubble, those are not where you're gonna make a living. I make nothing off of mine. It's just I kind of offer it because it's a nice platform that offers lots of products, so I can offer people some variety. But it's literally like enough for me to go to dinner and a movie once a month, maybe. So I think you really need to focus your portfolio. Really try and decide what area of expertise that you want to pursue. You didn't mention that in your comments, but like, if you want to be an editorial illustrator, then look at what kind of work that editorial illustrators have in their portfolio and build up your portfolio to fit something that you can apply for jobs. If you just sit around waiting for people to find your stuff on Instagram and commission you, it's probably just not going to work like that. Usually it kind of works in the opposite way. You have to take a lot of work that isn't really your ideal fine art work, and then the more you get exposed and the more you improve your craft, then people will start to come to you and want to hire you for your services. I did lots and lots of work that I would never ever even show you guys because it just wasn't what I wanted to do. It did not fit my aesthetic taste, but it paid, and it was art, and it was something that I was, according to my degree, specialized to do. So don't worry too much about who you are in the art world yet. Just try to find something to focus on and work towards that. That would be my advice to you. I haven't seen your work, but if you're feeling like, and I do say this very honestly, and I tell people who take my Art School Express class, if you don't feel like you're at a level where you can compete with other professionals, then you need to get some more training. I mean, I'm not saying that no one can make it as a self-taught artist, because a lot of self-taught artists do very well. But if you really analyze and put your work side by side with other people doing what you want to do, if you don't think you fit in there, then I think you really do have to take that time and put that effort in to improve your skill set. None of us got here by talent alone, and self-taught artists, in a way, they might work even harder than ones who've had professional training, because at least when you have instructors in a school format, you're like, all right, they jam this stuff down your throat until you could it backwards and forwards. But if you're self-taught, sometimes you don't even know exactly what areas to focus on. So I hope that kind of helps. It's hard for me to give you a real specific answer, not knowing what your work is like or what things you have tried. But be patient with yourself. Don't quit your day job just yet. Almost all of us had to get coffee for people for many years before we were able to, go off on our own. So I know a lot of kids now, they want, I'm not saying you're a kid, I don't know how old you are, but I know a lot of kids are getting used to the instant gratification. And this is something I might talk about maybe on my next paint along more thoroughly. But I have noticed that people now, they're like, oh, well, I'm getting a lot of likes on Instagram. So their egos get built up and they think that means overnight success, when truly there's no such thing. And the ones of us that have a very strong, I'm not trying to brag, but those of us that are doing it professionally have put in a lot of time and effort and slowly built up our business. So just remember that too. And you can get there, but you really have to work for it. You really have to work hard for it. Okay, so yeah, my sister's saying she wants Taco Bell. Now I'm thinking about Taco Bell. Okay, my next Facebook fan question comes from Caitlin G, who says, I just started creating wedding invites to make some extra money. I'm a broke college student that wants to make money doing a creative job, and in the future I'd like to do prints of my art like you. How long did it take you to generate a decent amount of business through Etsy, and what kind of marketing tips would you suggest? So that's, a big question, and I know that I have answered that before, actually. But it took me years, like I said. I started, so, it's a trickle. It's a little by little thing. I think I opened my Etsy store in 2009, and I was barely making a living by about 2012. 2012, I was supporting myself doing only art. So it did take me a while, and I did move back home with my parents and focus on doing only art. So I finally did quit I had 2 jobs at once. I was doing art at night, and it was crazy. I did quit doing that, and I did focus 100% of my time on my art. So that's how long it took me doing it that way. And in that time, I wasn't making a whole lot, and I was doing still freelancing commissions whenever I could. As far as marketing tips, again, this is something I really want to delve into deeply in my class if I ever get it done. I've just been so busy. I've been working on my business of art class just like a tiny inch at a time. And I really want to kind of do some self-assessment and think more about what it is that I did. Because honestly, I stumbled into a lot of it. I had no idea what I was doing. And it just kind of came through literally a lot of experimenting and trial and error. So off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you exactly how it worked. I just kept putting myself out there. I kept experimenting. I kept trying my content on different types of platforms. I signed up for every social media thing that I could find, and I tried to keep up the ones that were working the best for me. I do think Instagram is a good one these days, but the only problem I'm finding now with Instagram is, frankly, there's a lot of competition. There is a ton of people on there now, a ton of artists. It's hard. I noticed that my followers, like at first I was like getting a lot of followers, and now I'm kind of plateauing a little bit. And I'm not sure if it's just that people are like kind of just overloaded by how much content there is. I think YouTube's still a good platform. I think that you might want to try maybe Twitch. I think Twitch has some really interesting potential. A lot of people are liking it. I've been watching more Twitch, and I think that I kind of want to try it too. I have to get a different setup, though. I realized I'm not quite set up for it right now. I don't have a webcam, so I'm using my my Canon DSLR up there. So it doesn't like broadcast live. So I'd have to get a different type of camera to do that, but I may eventually do that. So yeah, just keep on doing it. Keep chipping away at it. Like I told Jessica before you, I also encourage you, even while you're in school, is to start focusing on what type of art that you really want to do and start focusing on a portfolio that you could submit to the type of companies or work that you want to do, because that takes a lot of time. I had a complete hodgepodge, and so I didn't have anything I could really send, even like to greeting card companies or something. I focused on that for a while, and I thought that I wanted to go into greeting cards, which is still a really good business. So just keep doing your research, basically. Keep experimenting, keep putting it out there, because honestly, that's the number one thing that got me to where I am, is I just kept freaking posting it and wondering if anyone would watch it. And now it's cool. Look how many of you guys watch me here on YouTube, and I had no idea when I was starting that I would have any sex. I didn't get any sex from YouTube. That I would have any success at all from YouTube was a complete surprise to me. So yeah, so there you have it. All right, I just have a little time left, and hopefully I can get through a couple more Facebook questions and get this lovely golden yellow ochre on here for a base for her dress. Okay, so my next question comes from Bancha Jane P. Have you ever gotten into trouble with your art? Like, did you ever draw on the walls at home or on your desk at school? And what are your earliest memories in art as far as creating your own pieces instead of cartoon or anime characters? Never got in trouble with my art. I don't know. It just wasn't really my style. I was a rules kid. I followed the rules. I very, very rarely got in trouble for anything. Actually, I was just very quiet, and I did what my parents told me to do. So no, but I did, when I was in high school, I begged my mom to let me paint a mural on my wall, which she agreed, and I thought that was amazing. I had so much fun planning it. I don't think I have a picture of it, unfortunately. I did a character named Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo, and I designed a costume for her. Okay. Sorry, I'm popular. And then I made up my own like samurai superhero character that was kind of like an alter ego character, and I painted that on the wall, and it was sad when we moved and my mom finally had to paint over it. But my earliest memories of art, one of my earliest memories of art is my dad. I don't know where he got it, but he bought this giant roll of butcher paper, and he let me roll it out in the kitchen. I was probably 4 or 5. I don't even know. Maybe about that age, I'd say. And he was just like, go wild, you know? And I used that entire roll over the next probably couple years, I guess. And I just made these murals, and I had like kind of like sequential stories. I don't know. There was probably terrible. I don't even know. In my head, it was a story. And that was one of my earliest memories. My parents were really cool about letting me make my art. And I also used to love like chalk, like sidewalk chalk. My sister and I used to spend hours making sidewalk chalk art and things like that. It was just really fun. All right. My next, I've got a question from Sky P. You are one of my major art inspirations. Oh, thank you very much. How do you feel about people using your likeness in their paintings, and how do you deal with difficult professors in art school? Well, you're free to use my likeness, just don't use my art. Honestly, yeah, I don't care. I'm flattered. I'm absolutely flattered that anyone would want to paint me, and I don't know, I do get a big kick out of fan art. It's just, you guys are so cute, and I really appreciate it, and you make me feel special, even though I'm getting old now. But yeah, I love inspired art. The only thing I don't like is art stealers who I have come across. I'm employing you guys. You're all going to be my minions. If you see something that looks a little too familiar to one of my pieces, do let me know. Because I recently had a couple people on Instagram that freaking blatantly copied my painting and did not give me credit. One guy was selling it. I don't know if he did. It was not very good. But yeah, that's shady, and don't do that because you will get caught. That's the great thing about the internet is somebody's going to recognize it and be like, that's not your work. So don't do that, but use my likeness all you like, please. Difficult professors. I don't know. Hindsight's 2020, I suppose. Back then I would just go home and cry myself to sleep at night. I don't know. I never stood up. I wasn't the type to like argue with a teacher. I find that really weird. I hear from teachers now saying that they'll have a student like argue with them and be like, well, I meant it that way and I already know how to do it. And this kind of like know-it-all attitude. And there was, of course, some egotistical people when I was in art school, but I just wasn't one of them. If a teacher critiqued me, then I assumed that I deserved it. And now I see that that's definitely not always the case either. Teachers are just people, and whether you like it or not, they have their own preferences and opinions sometimes, which aren't necessarily even always true. Like I said, I had some instructors that I felt didn't really take me seriously, and they said like, oh, there's no future in you just painting women, well, they were wrong. So I guess I go back to my former student self, who I was very upset by that. I was a senior then, and I was like, well, I love seeing what these pop surrealist artists are doing, like Sylvia G. and Stella M. Holtberg and Camilla D'Erico, and I was like, oh, I want to be like one of these women in art making female art. And my teachers were like, yeah, that's not legitimate, that's lowbrow, it's not going to go anywhere. But do be respectful and remember that they have put in the time and experience, and they are trying to help you for the most part. But when you go home at night, remember to keep that which makes you feel happy about your art in a safe little place tucked away, and don't let anybody tell you you can't do that. I would tell you to protect that part of you. If you really love anime and comics, keep that. You don't have to get rid of that. I did have a teacher say, I don't want to see anything that looks like anime in this class, and I was just like, because I loved anime, and I was even more strongly influenced by anime at the time, and I was afraid of that. But now it's like, I could still keep that part of myself, and it's still in my work, and I embrace that. It was something that influenced me to pursue art. So take it with a grain of salt, but keep what makes you happy there too. Don't let them ever squash that, and you'll be fine. You'll get through it. All right, so one more question for you guys today, and then I'm going to have to call it quits and go back to binge watching Hoarding. I started Hoarders. I started binge watching Hoarders, and oh my god, it's like a train wreck I can't look away from. And also my house got really, really clean, so I don't know. Got to see what happens. So my last question is from Leanna V, and she says, what is the one thing that has always been hard for you to paint or draw? You know what? I always feel like that's like a really common question, but I don't think it's really as simple as that. Painting and drawing is really just a matter of interpreting shapes. So I don't think any one thing would be technically harder than another thing. It's just that you haven't done it as much. But I mean, to give you sort of the answer that you're looking for, like most artists, I always have struggles with anatomy. I have hands. I do feel like I'm finally getting better at, because I love hands, but they're hard because we really have to get them so precise. Otherwise people will be like, something wrong with that hand. It looked like a claw. So I really try to get a really nice pose on the hand. I think about the pose of the hand when I'm looking for reference, or if I'm shooting my own reference. Because that really helps. When you have a hand that's like slightly turned in like a weird way, it just, no matter how correctly you draw, it just doesn't read right. So that's always frustrating. But like, I don't really because I know some people are like, oh, I can't draw men, I only can draw women. That's totally not true. You just haven't had as much practice. You totally can. You just have to put in the effort to do it more, and you'll get just as good. So never put that like cap on you, like, oh, I can't draw that, I'm not good at drawing that thing. It's just that you're practiced more at doing one thing, so you're more comfortable. But especially like for some of you guys earlier that I'm like, well, I want to find some work in art. Don't limit yourself. If you have had some art training, if you understand some light and shadow, some anatomy, the way value works on forms, you can draw anything you want. I mean, there's a really interesting assignment they do sometimes in art school, and it's just a really good example of what I'm talking about. Is they'll give you a reference. I don't know, I need like a picture or something. Well, I don't know, we'll use this. Okay, so you have red here, and we want you to copy this image. So they will actually turn it upside down, okay, and you need to draw it upside down. And the purpose of this assignment is to really challenge you to draw what you see and not what you think you see. And I say this in my art class all the time. And I might add this assignment in there because I do think it's a good one. Because when you're looking at this upright, you're like, okay, she has a face here, and I'm going to draw how I know how to draw face, and I'm going to draw how I know how to draw hand. But if you're looking at it this way, all you see is shapes. So this is, an upward curve. This is kind of a triangle shape, and you're literally interpreting it upside down. It messes with your brain. It also teaches you how to interpret reference better. So anyways, that would be my long-winded philosophical answer to that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I clearly love New York, apparently. This was a lot of fun. I have tons of questions on Instagram, and I have this painting to finish, and I have a whole nother painting to finish, so I may just keep on plugging away and start another paint along, so I will have lots of paint alonginess for you guys to create with. If you have a question, post it in my comments below with the hashtag AskLJ. Is this the sign for hashtag? I don't know. Did I make that up? Seems like it makes sense. And I'll try to get to it, but I can't promise I'll get to it soon because I got a huge number of really awesome, thoughtful questions on Instagram, and I want to answer those for you guys. Okay, so I will see you soon. Post what you were working on with hashtag Leilani Look on Instagram, and we can share projects. And I'll see you guys very soon. I gotta burn the midnight oil tonight, so see you soon.